Hi folks, Dine-in Chef, Matthew here. So wonderful to be back here at TA Appliances. I feel like this is Canada in a nutshell in a few different ways today. We got rain, that's fantastic. Could be snow, I don't know about you guys, but I love to cook in any season, especially when I have a fantastic grill, a dynamic grill. And we're gonna showcase a few of the elements that I think are really worth highlighting. And we're gonna use a vehicle called the salmon to do so. And again, Canadian. We've got two different types of salmon from the West Coast, from the East Coast. We've got some diver scallops, they're called U10s. They're big fat scallops from Digby, Nova Scotia. And we're gonna use an infrared grill burner to sear those things off. Really high temperature. Scallops, I like to eat them rare, but a little sear outside is nice. And we're gonna build a little sauce today, also using the heat in a pan with some bacon, some leeks, some potatoes. And finally, our friends at Coddles Catch threw in a couple of lobster crab cakes. So as we go, I think it's gonna be really fair for me to just turn this thing off for a second. I'll also notice, folks, as I turn these off, white means not hot, white means off. We call this intuitive lighting. Our friends at DCS have coined this intuitive lighting, and I think very much so. One of the things I love about this grill, there's like a spring in here or something. This just, I think we've got these coils here. This is a heavy lid. This is stainless steel solid, which would be extremely heavy. This unit has considered that. I love those elements where the end user is considered. A few elements I want to point out right away. On the left side, we have our infrared. Wow, this is pumping. We're gonna hit our scallops on this. Nice feature also is the type of grill used here. We have a slight angle, and you can adjust this at home, folks, but this grill style has troughs in it, which allows your fat to drip off, not onto your heat source where it's going to cause flame, rather into a lovely collective grease tray, like a professional kitchen. We all know, you put a fatty burger or a steak on the grill and that juice drips down, and what happens next? You have this flare up. So we're gonna see how that happens today, they thought about those things. Again, this is the detail. I think that a brand like this is really considered the customer first, which is awesome. I'm gonna just get a little gas fired into the system. Rotisserie I don't need, but if I wanted to, I turn this on. Now I have another element of heat coming at, bouncing this. This becomes an 800-degree hot, like inferno, where we can do indirect cooking rather nicely. So I'm gonna leave that off for now. But notice, so we got orange. I'm gonna go ahead and take my smoker box, if you will, and I'm just gonna go and put this on a high heat source, and we're gonna get a nice little aroma happening. If I want, I can also adjust how much smoke I'm getting out. We're gonna now turn our attention for a moment just to some of our local product. There's a really cool little vegetable fruit stand just behind me. I think it's Barb's fruit stand. So I thought building some sort of a succotash on a pan might be nice. We had some corn right available, and we're gonna go ahead and use this today in some of our dishes. Just to highlight some of our food, we have lovely salmon. This is all Canadian. So East Coast, colder waters, the salmon develops fat to keep it warm, lighter color, very meaty. And West Coast, warmer waters. This is coho, very little fat. The waters are warm, it doesn't need that extra barrier of warmth. And then we're gonna again showcase the searing capabilities of our infrared sear plate. We've got some under 10 per pound Digby scallops. These are from our friends at Coddles Catch. Then we have some lobster and crab cakes. And finally, bacon. Just bacon makes everything better, so we're gonna do some of that too in a pan. I'm gonna start with these lovely scallops. These, again, I mentioned they're from Digby. We're just gonna give a little bit of olive oil on these, and this grill is just gonna give us a nice caramelization outside. As I said, what I'm looking for. I'm also just gonna introduce a little bit of seasoning, of course, a little bit of kosher salt, and then just get these ingredients familiar with the scallop. And what I'm looking for here is a quick hot sear either side, and that's it. They're gonna be off. This is crazy hot. Gently. And remember, folks, how much heat we lose? We don't want to lose that heat. We're gonna give these maybe 25, 30 seconds on the side they're on. We'll do a little crisscross applesauce, and then we're gonna flip it again to the other side. So the grill will tell me, see that, folks? There's no sticking here. This tells me it's ready to turn. So I'm gonna take this and just go one way, now the other way. Give it another moment. The grill will tell you when the protein's ready. That's what I want. Let's give a little turn here. So we're gonna go again, just a little quarter turn. Okay, and those are ready to go in about 30 seconds. As for our scallops, they look lovely to me. We'll take our scallops off the heat. Beautiful. Folks, there's nothing better than butter. So we've just got a couple of leeks. They say it's the best scallops in the world. Plump, juicy, yummy. So Why lemon? Lemon is the acidity. Balance out that rich mouthfeel that the scallop has. Scallops can be done a bunch of different ways, different sizes like I mentioned, but these guys here, are kind of like a miniature steak almost, and you really get a chance to have some mouthfeel and enjoy that flavor. I think it's time. I feel like everyone's watching, and they are. I'm just gonna go ahead and put this whole thing up. Right? Wow, sweet. Exterior's got a nice firm texture inside. Just beautiful mouthfeel. You sit this richness of that muscle. It's called a bivalve. Holds the shell together. And a little bit of acidity, lemon. I don't know. What do you think, Ryan? Right on. Time to move on. I'm gonna take a couple of husks, cobs of corn. I just want to put these right on the grill. Okay, now I did soak them down. Shoot them over just a little, because that sucker is like crazy hot compared to the rest. I've got this at a medium to high heat, 5, 6, 7 minutes easily. I'll turn them a little bit. We might get some char there, which is fine. A little more sort of character of flavor. And next thing, I'm gonna take my pan and we're gonna sear off a couple of lobster crab cakes while we heat our corn to get ready for our salmon. We're gonna see how our corn is doing. Awesome, we got some char happening here. That's what I hope to see. We're gonna just go ahead and roll it around a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and just introduce these beautiful crab lobster cakes. But I mean, no doubt, fine people at Cottle's Catch have done a great job with that seasoning flavor. But I just think bacon makes everything a little bit better. So I'm also just gonna introduce a little bit of butter because bacon butter, better. Triple B. So as we have our butter, this is a good sense of seeing a sear or render. I'll put a little bit of our leeks. Are one of my favorite things to cook with, Ryan. Most of my meals start with leeks. They're just aromatic, they're soft, they have a real nice influence on flavor. So kind of seasoning the butter here is what I'm doing. And I'm now just gonna take a pinch of salt. Again, why do I love kosher salt? It's because it's not iodized. It's a very soft salt. So I'm gonna get those leeks out of the way. Clearly I have a nice little, very hot little plate here of butter, oil, and I'm gonna just get my cake in there. Second one down. So folks, I'm gonna try and retain our heat here and shut this sucker down. So we're already sliding there, Ryan. It tells us we've already got a sear. That's really nice. So Ryan, I think we have caramelization. Sometimes I use something like this as a litmus test to see how hot and where the heat is in the pan. I'm not gonna use those leeks, but they're there to kind of give an indication. So that's what we want. What a nice little sort of caramelization. And folks, I'm sorry, yeah, this is buttery, rich goodness, okay? So in terms of our sauce, just a couple things. I like to call a succotash is maybe a rustic dish. These are lovely little cherry, I think actually, not cherry, a little larger than cherry, tomatoes from a little spot down the road. And tomatoes, we talked about last time, this is gonna add some umami, a little sense of balance and flavor, a little sweetness. And we're gonna build that with some potatoes, leeks into our pan once we pull out these lobster cakes, which I think are probably pretty close to being done here. So we have delightful buttery goodness happening here. And just to be fair, this is sort of on a medium heat on this side. Our corn is getting there. So we're gonna let these rest for a moment. I'm gonna pull my bacon off and start to build our succotash. As this rests for a moment, I'm gonna take these are just lovely little miniature potatoes. Our lobster crab cakes are resting. I've got my hot pan once again here. I'm gonna use that corn in a few moments time. A little bit of olive oil. I'm gonna just put a little bacon in there, feel that bacon fatty flavor. And we're gonna get these potatoes in the pan. So I'm kind of doing a very shallow fry, if you will. We should take Ethan's recommendation and just give these a try as is, nothing else. So I have a sear on the outside and I have wow, there's a lot of seafood in here. Thank you, Ethan and friends. I'm gonna go ahead and use my hands here. Wow, I taste the ocean. There's some scallop in there for sure, feel the texture. Lobster, crab. Wow. See, folks, we've got this nice sort of caramelized brown. That's really what we want. I'm gonna go ahead and pull these off. You know what, Ryan, I can feel now. There is some nice softness building there, which is what I want. To make sure we've got that peaches and cream gourmet sweetness. So as I mentioned earlier, the corn, I'm very happy with sort of the moisture here and it feels a little soft. I'll let this rest for not too long. That's a nice smell coming from there too. Potatoes are certainly happening. I think, Ryan, I'm going to try and incorporate in my succotash these peaches. I know this kind of seems odd, but I think it might work really nicely. And so I went ahead and sort of took the pit out of a couple of these. Same principle. I don't want to put something like this on a grill without a little oil. Add it as you wish, because this will stick a little bit on the grill. And this is crazy, I know. I'm not a baker, but I do know what's true about baking. To enhance sweetness, believe it or not, add a pinch of salt. Crazy, I know. So this is just gonna go down, and watch what happened here, Ryan. See the oil dripped off. Where's it going? It's not going on the grill, into the burners. It's trickling down into our catcher. We have that. It's a great way to showcase. And I just want to use, again, the leeks, give you some aromatics, and just elevate the flavor of my potatoes. Gonna shut this lid. Next up, we're gonna bring the tomatoes and the corn into this succotash. Look at this, right? My goodness, that is absolutely beautiful. Oh yeah, this is cooked beautifully. That knife went through there nice and quick. So I just want to remove the juicy nuggets here. That even had a little char on it. That looks great. So this now is gonna become friends with my potatoes, which are starting to look pretty darn good. So corn goes in, and I think at this point, I don't want to keep going as hot. I'm gonna turn this thing right down, because last of which, I'm gonna introduce my umami and a little bit of lemon juice, and last of all, some beautiful Riesling from Cave Spring Cellars in Ontario. This is Riesling, dry Riesling. A lot of people have this idea that Riesling is a sweet grape or sweet wine. It's not, it can be. Riesling in Germany can be made in actually 7 different sweetness levels, from a very dry wine to Trockenbernauschlesen, which is essentially an ice wine made with Riesling. And acidity is food's friend. So I'm gonna put in a pretty healthy amount here, maybe about 2/3 to a cup. And now I'm just gonna let these guys become friends. So we have an off-dry, high-acid, refreshing grapiness being introduced here. I'm gonna pull these peaches off because I think they're about to become something pretty cool in our little succotash. I think as that Riesling sort of integrates and cooks down a little bit, we're gonna introduce, again, I want sort of think similar cut pieces, grilled peaches. Okay, right, I'm happy with this. We've lost a lot of the liquid sort of concentration level. Given that I like my fish to be kind of rare, that's fine. I'm gonna cook this. This will be a little more well done down here. This will be nice and rare in the middle. That's what I want. Something this size, it's quite thin. I want to put them all in the same time. I want to sort of stagger. Oops, geez. I want to stagger how those go on, because I don't want one to be overcooked and one to be undercooked. Again, a little bit of seasoning. We'll do any other seasoning with perhaps some lemon, which is going to go into our succotash at the end. But I want to get a nice little sort of layer of fat in between the skin and the grill. And that's what we've done here with our oil. I have a little duck fat here that's been sitting out for a while, and I'm just gonna hit this, Ryan, a little duck fat, because this, again, will give us a kind of a crispy skin, and super, super hot over here. So skin side down. Wow. That little flare up is because of our duck fat. It'll cook off pretty quickly, but that's also what's gonna give us that nice sort of caramelization. Ryan, do you see how fat? We're seeing skin become like crispy in front of our eyes. I'm gonna remove this oxygen from this because it's gonna just continue to flare up if we don't. We have some intense flame happening here. That is definitely because of my duck fat, but I'm okay with that because look how easy that came off the grill. And look, Ryan, can you see what's happening underneath there? Folks, that's what I want, okay? Because guess what? This thing is freaking hot, and that is amazing. Wow. Yeah, this is great. So I'm gonna bring this guy over to this side, which, remember, this is off. I turned this side off, okay? And if you wanna get in there, Ryan, to see what's happening in the middle here, that is pretty rare inside. We're gonna give that now the indirect heating. And I've got this really lovely, crispy base, that salmon. When a guest so bite into that and cut it, they should have this sort of crispy on the bottom, buttery, rich, moist center. I'm now gonna take my coho salmon that really has very little fat in it. A little bit of hello to the duck fat. Put this on, skin side down, of course. This salmon is already cooking through a fair bit more in that little time. So, bye-bye. Okay, folks, this has been about a minute. And again, what's my grill telling me here? It's good, I'm ready to flip. There's no sticking here, amazing. And I'm just gonna turn it on a 45, just so you can see what's happening underneath there. That's what I really want to have happen. I don't want, hey, there's a good example. I don't want to hit this side on the grill. It's very delicate. The reality of it not doing this is very low. You see, just for a second here, we got this salmon. And that's probably why a lot of people are afraid to cook salmon on the grill, because we sort of believe you gotta cook both sides. If we do the skin as our barrier and allow it to sort of cook from both sides without having to put this flesh down, we have a beautiful piece at the end. I like what I'm seeing here, folks. Now that's a me. Some people think, so that's about medium rare inside. I'm gonna give it maybe another moment. I'm gonna clear the surface and we're doing a little plate up and we're gonna try some delicious salmon. Just as a reminder, this won't get to be the color we're normally used to seeing in a salmon from the Atlantic coast. This is done, that's firm, that's beautiful. Any more cooking than that, I'm gonna be sad. And back to plating, you know, I'm not razzle dazzle. I would like to have something that is achievable and can be enjoyed, considering also the textures involved. Wanting to really honor the texture that I have coming from my food itself. And so I kind of, you know, being a parent, kids are very, sometimes, finicky about food touching, whatever else. I think we started to see some of that echoed in sort of plating and in food concepts where we have this sort of deconstruction maybe, or we have it sort of broken down. I just want to make sure there's a fair representation of each of our foods. And don't be shy as you go. You know, if you need to just give a little wipe, just do so. Oh man, I think this is just fantastic. And I might just give a little bit of a touch there. I think what I'll do here is just spoil us. So we're gonna get a chance to have a little bit of the two worlds of salmon. Last thing I wanna do real quick, I wanna just make a fast, quick butter wine, just to give this maybe a little bit of flair. As this is happening, this grill is heating up. I'm gonna just bring a little bit of lemon into the game, just to give us a little bit of that acidity. Again, we have very rich fish here, light seasoning. This beautiful piece of fish was just a little thicker than the other one, so we left it on here for another minute. Introduce this here. And what I want to do last of all is just give it just a little bit of fat again on top, so I ensure there's no dryness happening there. A little bit of my wine, a little bit of butter, a little bit of lemon juice, and we're just going to give this a quick sort of base, if you will. I don't need to use the whole butter. Really want to create here, as you see happening, I've taken the flavors out of my pan, and with what's melted as butter, just making a little glaze, demi-glaze, okay? And I just want to introduce this just over top of my fish. As such, reiterating, we have the Riesling here, we have the corn here, the butter here. What a pleasure to cook on this grill. It's allowed me to do several different sort of food preparation methods, and I certainly hope it's allowed us to give a highlight showcase to our beautiful Canadian ingredients, especially summertime. Corn, peaches, buttery, beautiful salmon. Thank you very much, folks. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Ryan and I are now gonna be the hard part and try and enjoy the food itself too.